On October 23, 2025, EASA dropped a critical update for anyone operating the Boeing 787 with certain Rolls-Royce Trent 1000 engines. Now, this isn't just another piece of paper. This is a mandatory action, and it comes with some pretty serious operational and financial consequences. So let's break down exactly what you need to know about it.
Here's the game plan. We'll start with why this update is such a big deal. Then, we'll dig into the root cause of the problem. After that, we'll pinpoint exactly which engines and aircraft are affected, lay out the required actions and deadlines, look at the impact on your operations, and then wrap up with the key takeaways to make sure you stay compliant. Okay, first things first, it is absolutely vital to understand that this new directive, AD 2025-0233, completely replaces the old one from 2024. And the most important change, it introduces what's called a mandatory terminating action. Basically, this isn't a band-aid, it's a permanent fix to solve the problem for good. So what's the real difference here? Well, the old directive was all about damage control, repetitive inspections, just monitoring the situation. This new AD, it keeps those inspections for now, but it adds a non-negotiable requirement for a permanent design modification. The whole mindset has shifted from just managing the risk to completely eliminating it. To really get why this is so urgent, we've got to look at the specific problem, the unsafe condition that Rolls-Royce and EASA have zeroed in on. The whole thing centers on one potential point of failure. Rolls-Royce figured out that it's possible for this little component, the mini-disc anti-rotation block inside the high-pressure compressor, to just break free and get released into the assembly while the engine is running. And here it is. The part in question is the HPC mini-disc anti-rotation block. It's buried deep inside the HPC rear drum. You can see it's a relatively small part, but as we're about to see, its potential failure carries some major consequences for the engine's health. You don't have to take my word for it. The AD spells it out in black and white. If this block gets loose, it could damage the parts around it, shorten their safe operational life, and potentially, and this is the scary part, lead to the structural failure of critical engine parts. That is exactly the kind of catastrophic scenario this directive is designed to prevent. So, who exactly does this apply to? Let's get really specific about the engines and the aircraft that fall under this mandatory action. This directive covers a whole range of Trent 1000 Pack B models, the ones you'll find on the Boeing 787 fleet. But here's the crucial detail. There's an exclusion. If your engine already had modification 72AK645 built in during production, you're in the clear. For everyone else, though, this AD is mandatory. No exceptions. Okay, let's talk action. This next part breaks down exactly what needs to be done and when. This is absolutely critical stuff for your technical, planning, and CAM teams. The road to compliance has three main stages. First, those repetitive bore scope inspections, they have to continue. Second, if you find anything, like a missing block or some other foreign object, that engine has to be pulled from service before its very next flight. And third, the final step, is to get that mandatory terminating modification done. Digging into the details, bore scope inspections have to be done at least every 800 engine flight cycles. If you find anything wrong, the engine comes off immediately. But the real key takeaway here is the modification. Getting Service Bulletin 72AK645 or Vision 1 embodied is the terminating action, and you have to get it done within 67 months. Once that's done, you can stop the repetitive inspections for that engine. 67 months. That is the hard deadline from the AD's effective date to get your entire affected fleet modified. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of time, but when you think about fleet-wide planning, coordinating shop visits, and just managing the logistics, well, the clock is already ticking. So let's zoom out from the nuts and bolts for a second and look at the bigger picture. What does all this actually mean for your operations, your network planning, and of course, your budget? This gives you a quick snapshot of the pressures you're facing. The ongoing inspections, that's a steady, medium-level workload. The real high-pressure points are the risk of unscheduled aircraft downtime if an inspection turns up a problem, and the massive logistical challenge of that fleet-wide modification mandate. So for management, the key things to worry about are pretty clear. You have to plan for unscheduled engine removals. That hits your aircraft availability directly. You've got the massive cost and logistical puzzle of the modification program. And all of this can have a serious knock-on effect on your network and even the terms of your aircraft lease agreements. All right, let's wrap this up with the final mandate and point you to the resources you need to make sure you achieve full and timely compliance with this really critical AD. Here are your immediate action items. Number 1. Make sure your compliance plan covers every single requirement and deadline in this directive. Number 2. This needs tight cross-departmental coordination. We're talking camo, maintenance, planning, right up to your commercial teams. And number 3. Your technical people need to dive deep into the official AD and all the referenced Rolls-Royce service bulletins. And that really leaves one final big question for you and your teams to think about. Is your current compliance strategy actually robust enough to handle both the pressure of ongoing inspections and the complex logistics of hitting that 67-month modification deadline across your entire fleet? For all the complete authoritative technical details, make sure you go to the source, the official EASA AD document, and the associated Rolls-Royce service bulletin. That is your single source of truth for keeping things safe and compliant. Stay on top of it and stay safe out there.